Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are, whenever you are. Hello. Thank you for watching my videos. It's Mike. It's June 27th, 2009. Here's a few stories from the week. Thursday, 2,000 jobs go in devastating blow to steel industry. Chorus, which is actually owned by the Indian group Tata, has decided to mothball a bunch of steel processing plants in the UK, including Rotherham, Stocksbridge and Scunthorpe will be hardest hit. Basically saying they're going to axe 2,000 further jobs. They already axed 1,000 jobs at the beginning of this. Now why are they doing this? Well, of course, there's no demand for processed steel. Most of these plants were processing steel for the construction industry, which, funnily enough, doesn't require quite as much steel as before. Now this sort of thing's happening all over the world, but more importantly, odd things are happening in all sorts of weird industries, and they're doing all sorts of strange things to try to cope with the economic downturn. British Airways, for instance, has said that 7,000 of their employees will take a pay cut, and 800 have actually agreed to work for no pay for up to a month. British banks highly vulnerable to future shocks, so says the Bank of England. Britain's banks remain over-indebted, highly vulnerable, and harbour growing funding gaps, which leave them susceptible to future shocks. And essentially basically saying that if anything else happens in the global economic meltdown, British banks will most likely need to be bailed out again. Over in Europe. Now, of course, in the UK and the US, they used various forms of quantitative easing. In the States they're calling it credit easing, in the UK it's QE, but essentially what it boils down to is they are effectively creating money out of thin air. Now there's a bunch of nonsense going on about conspiracy theory that the US dollar has returned to the gold standard. That's madness, but never mind. We'll see. Could be right. What's his face? George Blandford, or whatever his name is. Yeah, anyway, so over in Europe, rather than firing up the printing presses and firing money out of helicopters, as Ben Bernanke once said would be a really good solution to this kind of situation, what they've instead done is loaned out 442 billion euros at 1% interest for 1 year to the banks. They were expecting, economists were expecting that the ECB would be lending out roughly 300 billion euros, so an extra 142 billion euros was lent out, kind of under the covers. Where did this money come from? Nowhere, but never mind, I'm not supposed to know that. Over in Ireland, things are getting rather grim. The International Monetary Fund is saying that they expect Ireland to suffer a decline in gross domestic product, cumulative 13.5% in the 3 years to 2010. Okay, now that's 2008, 2009. So there's already been quite a reduction. Now, of course, a reduction of greater than 10% is technically a depression, so Ireland will be entering a depression. Sorry, my Irish friends. Russia. Russia considers bailout for banks. Now, not a lot of this has been popping up in the press, but apparently awful lot of things are happening in Russia that are very, very bad. And of course, a lot of the Russian economy is based upon the price of oil, which has stabilized, is floating around $67, $68, sometimes going as high as 71, but it is nowhere near as bad as the $33 it got to. However, still having a huge impact on the Russian economy, and same sort of things that we're seeing over here in the West is also happening in Russia. So keep your eye out on that one. Now, Japan. This one really got me going. Japan on verge of subprime mortgage crisis as summer bonuses plunge. Now the way that was an awfully big bird, wasn't it? The way that Japanese employees are generally compensated is they have, the regular salary and then a bonus, a large bonus that's paid twice yearly. Well, of course, all the manufacturing in Japan is just tanking. Exports are going like crazy in Japan. They're dropping like flies. And so a lot of people have got mortgages and they expect to pay off chunks of them with the bonuses. Well, they're not going to get them this year. So, Leo Lewis, Asian business correspondent for The Times in London, is predicting there will be an impending meltdown, which the Tokyo Foundation believes could affect some hundreds of thousands of households. Focused initially on the country's industrial heartlands, where corporate bankruptcy rates are rising. In other words, a lot of businesses are going out of business in the industrial heartland, i.e. manufacturing. It's not going to be good. An interesting article from the same chap, Leo Lewis, from last Friday. To fight deflation, abolish cash. Could Japan make reality of science fiction? Basically, one guy at the Bank of Tokyo, a strategist, has come up with this concept that they should get rid of cash. It should all be cashless, and then they can have a negative inflation rate. Because effectively, if you have a piece of paper that says it's worth, 100 million yen or whatever, it's always worth 100 million yen, no matter what the value of the yen is. Kind of makes it difficult to devalue currencies when a lot of people have it. Now, apparently in Japan, the number was quite high. Currency in circulation is about 16% of GDP. Most countries have a level of 2 to 3% of GDP in physical currency. So they're going to have a hard time getting rid of that. Now, the very last line kind of indicates that this is unlikely to happen right now. Who knows what's going to happen long term. Now, over in Australia, Qantas cancels Dreamliner orders. Qantas, the biggest customer of Boeing's 787 Dreamliners, cancelling an order for 15 planes and delayed the delivery of a further 15 planes. Now, of course, the spin the EFT's put on it is that this is a big blow to Boeing. This is really going to mess up Boeing. Well, hello? There's obviously something really wrong with Qantas if they can't buy these planes. So right down at the end of this, they go on to mention, oh yeah, by the way, Qantas is really, really suffering. The cancellations of 15 Dreamliners will reduce Qantas's capital spending by about $3 billion, based on current prices, which takes any immediate heat off the airline's finances. In the half year ended December 31st, Qantas reported a pre-tax profit of 288 million Australian dollars, but its latest guidance implies a pre-tax loss of as much as 188 million Australian dollars. We might see an airline go. Now, following along with this, I was saying, well, it's interesting what's happening with Boeing. Let's see what's happening with Airbus. And Ambrose Evans Pritchard had a piece. Thank you, Ambrose. He's over in China right now, on a jolly apparently. I guess he's trying to get a gauge for what's actually happening with the Chinese economy. However, Airbus fears China's aviation industry may soon challenge Britain's wing production. Airbus factories in China are rapidly mastering aircraft technology and may soon pose a direct challenge to Britain's niche industry of wing production. Apparently, we're very good in the UK at making wings for airplanes. Who knew? Anyway. And of course, Airbus used to be partly owned by the British government, but is now sold off, and, they're just going where the money is. Airbus officials see technology sharing in China as the price to pay for entry into a market expected to need 2,800 passenger jets of above 100 seats over the next 20 years, with a value well over $300 billion. Sales contracts are highly political. Mr. Enders said that the shift to China was not motivated by the lure of cheap labor, yeah right, but rather part of Airbus's move to spread its operations globally. Spreading the operations to the cheapest market, of course, is just makes financial sense, doesn't it? Never mind what it's going to do to people working in Wales. Okay, a couple of further pieces. There's a great article in the Rolling Stone magazine this month. Now, for those of you that can't get the Rolling Stone or don't actually have the cash to do it, I've included a link here from a Zero Hedge blog. Basically, they have the entire article scanned in through Scribd, and you can go read it. And essentially, basically going on saying that Goldman Sachs has been behind creating all the bubbles in one way or another. Near the end of that magazine article is an indication of what the next big bubble is that Goldman Sachs is going for. Carbon tax. In Congress, on Friday, they were debating for 3 hours a new bill, H.R. 2454, American Clean Energy and Security Act of 2009. Now the subtitle on this particular bill: to create clean energy jobs, achieve energy independence, reduce global warming pollution, and transition to a clean energy economy. Interesting how they snuck the word security in there. However, partway through this, the words provides for trading, banking and borrowing, auctioning, selling, exchanging, transferring, holding or retiring emission allowances, effectively creating a deregulated market for these things. Guess who's going to be looking after that particular market? Probably Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, a few other banks. It's going to be very interesting. And of course, that's just the States. There's lots of stuff around the world along a similar vein. I've included a link here by Steve Milloy at the website Human Events, basically saying that, you know, this is the worst thing that you could possibly do to the American economy right now. Because basically you're going to add a tax to everything, including all manufacturing. There goes the American dream. Everyone see it fly out the window? Finally, I do like Carl Denninger's blog, marketticker.denninger.net. Now he had a piece up on Thursday called Paranoid Rantings. Basically saying, hey, since I got a tinfoil mention over another blog for my coverage of the Barabon saga, I thought I'd stoke the fire a bit more with this story. Yeah, this was the story that appeared on MarketWatch Thursday morning about HSL, the letter saying that, reporting the rumor that some US embassies worldwide are being advised to purchase massive amounts of local currencies, enough to last them a year. Now, basically HSL was saying, you know, this is probably going to lead to an FDR-style bank holiday while the banks get sorted out. Nah, what Carl thinks is that the H1N1 swine flu pandemic will really take off. And so what they're doing is making sure that, you know, they're ready in case they have to quarantine countries and things like that. So get ready for martial law in various places. Now, something that some people may have missed, because I did. Over in Massachusetts, they've passed a state bill, State Bill S18. I've linked it here. Effectively, the state can enter your home or business without permission. They don't need a confirmed illness to enter either. The state can require you to take medications, i.e. vaccines. The state can destroy your property if it is contaminated. The state can use your medical records without your consent. The state can restrict your movements, i.e. not allow you to leave your home. State can employ National Guard, state police, local police to force compliance. The state will not punish those who report individuals for non-compliance, if it is done in good faith. If you do not comply with these orders in Massachusetts, you will be arrested or fined or both. Thanks to a lovely little viewer who sent that along to me. Now, what's going on? End of July, July 27th through the 31st. FEMA is holding a national level exercise, NLE 09. Basically checking all of the FEMA personnel across the United States are ready for any kind of event. Now in this case they're going for a terrorist event, but it could be any event. And we all know what FEMA's like. They made quite a mess of it down in New Orleans. But anyway, one thing that's people have sort of missed in there, bottom of that, this year the United States welcomes the participation of Australia, Canada, Mexico, and the United Kingdom in NLE 09. In other words, you're going to have foreign troops, folks, acting as observers or whatever, getting some training or whatever, but that's interesting. A lot of people miss that. Okay, peace, love, understanding, think about things. I'll speak to you again later. Bye. Oh, Guy says hi. Decided I'm going to call it Guy Fawkes. Terrorist teapot. His name is Guy.